Hello, it's some dust or something. I'm here today because I wanted to do a showcase on the Stegosaurus in Path of Titans. I think this is a really cool herbivore, and it's one of the last herbivores I actually need to do a showcase on before I'm completely caught up. I've had a lot of fun with this thing, and there's a lot to talk about with it, so the first thing I guess I should get out of the way is that this is essentially a walking fortress. You don't have a ton of health. You have 600 health, which is the same as like a Serrato and a Dasp. The difference is you are 5,000 combat weight, which is the same as Sarco, same as Suko, I think the same as a Guanodon if I'm not mistaken, just below like EO and the lower weighted apexes. So that, along with its special hide here, wrong one, the armored plates, which it has in common with its similar dinosaur, the Kintro, gives you a base armor rating as well. So that kind of pads out your defenses. So you may not have high health, but you've got some pretty good weight and the armor from your skin there. The way I run this thing, if you look at my bar, I have a bite, I have a tail attack, and I have a charged tail attack. Now, the fantastic thing about those is none of them use stamina, which is good because the Stego, even though it has a pretty respectable sprint speed at about 900, it does not have incredibly good stamina. It only has 100 with a kind of slow regeneration and a pretty standard drain. So, stamina conservation, I'm just glad that none of the attacks use it because realistically, you don't have a ton to work with in that regard. So the cool thing about this is the tail attacks, as well as doing some pretty respectable damage on hit, they apply a lot of bleed. I mean, your regular tail attack does a ton of bleed, but if you get this charged one all the way up, and then you hit with that one too, you get a ton of stacks of bleed on things, as well as doing very respectable damage as well. Hi, Iguanodon. So that makes this thing really cool, as well as its signature ability. If you look here above my attacks, an icon's about to show up. That means that I've been standing still for 5 seconds, which means I can do this. I can spin to win. The Stegosaurus gets an ability called Pivot that lets you stand in place and spin really very fast. And that's fantastic for not only, say something's running up in front of you, you can turn really quick and get your tail on their head right away, or you can chain attack. Say you hit something with a bite, you spin, you hit it with the tail, you hit it with the bite, you spin, you hit it with the tail. Just really, really solid ability in that regard. And this Iggy probably thinks I'm insane right now. So as well as the the combat utility there, being able to maneuver really well with that tail, do a lot of physical as well as bleed damage. Stego, it's just pretty solid once you get it to like sub-adult. Until then, it is kind of a hard grow because you are big, you are, like I said, relatively fast at 900, but you don't have good stamina. So that can make getting away from things kind of rough, and obviously as a baby your output's not as good as it could be when you're an adult. So growing this thing can be a little tricky until you're sub, and then you're going to be just fine. Let's go, and since this is a showcase, I've gone over the combat and everything, I guess I could go into the metabolism. You've got herbivore, forager, and fat reserves there. With the pivot that I was talking about, 5 seconds and you can pivot on the spot essentially. So now that we've got all that out of the way, sorry I keep getting distracted by this dude, I guess I will go ahead and show you the calls and animations, starting with the broadcast. Then we've got the heart call, an aggro, alert, the low call, a shake it off, a look around, and a stretch. When it comes to the skins, you have your default, which actually, as far as default skins go, is not that bad. Your patterned, your leaf, serval, tail stripe, lime, backer, brown, zebra, lined, which is what I'm running now. Really like this one. Albino, melanistic, and the monarch if you manage to get enough marks to save up for that. So, altogether, really solid dino. Once you get it full grown, you are able to fend off all sorts of things. You're faster than like a Rex's sprint, so you can get away from things pretty easily if they're coming at you and they serve a serious threat. I've managed to fight off entire groups. Earlier today, I fought off a Alio, Cerato, Meg, Conk all at once. I've fended off Metries and Anos. Anos are not very good against Stegos. Stegos have a lot on them. So if you're someone who's always annoyed by Anos, you know, this might be a great option for you because that tail is just too long and the bleed is something that the Anos are not going to want to deal with. So, yeah, I think that about does it for the Stegosaurus. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.